Hello viewers, welcome to lecture 6 of industrial robotics. In this lecture we are going to talk about end effectors. So again, go back, recollect my first lecture when we are discussing about robot anatomy. I was telling that when you say robo, it comes without a hand, it comes only up to a wrist. So take for that matter, any manufacturer will give you a robo only with up to the wrist and without a hand. So now designing and selecting appropriate hand, of course here in robotics we call it as end effector. It's a challenging task because your entire operation is going to be dependent on how effectively you are going to design your end effector. So that's what we are going to see in this lecture. So now end effector, when I say hand, um, is there only one way we use a hand, or are there different ways of using a hand? So accordingly here in robotics, the end effectors are classified into two major categories. The first one is the gripper and the second one is a tool. So because as I told you, uh, uh, the end effector can hold an object. In that case it's called a gripper, and sometimes instead of a hand or an end effector or a grasping device, you attach a tool to the wrist so that it performs a different task. So these are the two major categories of end effectors. Of course we'll discuss them one by one. So grippers, what are they intended for? So the grippers are intended to grasp and hold objects. So you need to grasp and then hold it firmly, because it's not like simply holding it, and you have to hold and then make movements. So you are not supposed to drop it. The robot is not supposed to drop it. So the main aim or purpose of a gripper is to grasp and then hold objects. So next is for machine loading and unloading. Of course, once the robot uh, grasps an object, so then it has to take it to a machine. If it is a raw material or the raw part or unfinished part, it has to load it onto the machine. And when the machining has been completed, remove or unload the finished component from the machine. So this is another purpose of gripper. And third is pick parts from conveyor. Because in automated manufacturing setup, so no human carries the work parts, and it's being sent on a conveyor. Probably there is one conveyor for input materials or the raw materials, there is another conveyor for output or the finished goods. So the gripper or the end effector, it has to pick parts from the conveyor. And next is arrange parts onto a pallet. So as I told you, the raw material comes on a conveyor. So the robot picks the part, loads onto a machine, and once the machining is done, removes or unloads the finished component, place it on to either output conveyor, or it could palletize, or when there is a pallet, it keeps into the pallet. So for these functions and purpose we need grippers. So how do we classify them? Of course, one is two major categories, grippers and tools. Now the grippers are further classified. Let's see on what basis we classify them. First is a single gripper. What do you mean by single gripper? Maybe analogically I say I have only one hand, so that's called a single gripper. And of course practically, though we have two hands, depending upon whether you are a right hander or a left hander, most of the tasks, I won't say all the tasks, most of the tasks we do with only one hand. So analogically here it's a single gripper, whereas only one holding device. Next is a double gripper, and there are people who are dexterous, ambidextrous, where now they can do two jobs simultaneously with both the hands. So similarly in case of gripper, so again I want to emphasize that the cycle times are very critical, and can I have two grippers so that I can speed my operation, or in other words, can I reduce my cycle time? So I need double grippers. And depending upon certain applications where uh, uh, single or double gripper is not sufficient, we need multiple grippers. So these are the major classifications of the grippers. So single gripper, what can a single gripper do? So there is only one grasping device, and it can be used to load a component or a raw material onto a machine, and you can unload it from the machine. So you can see one type of single gripper here. There is one pair of fingers here. This is one finger and this is another finger. And now you recollect when we were discussing about the risk, we said only the risk gives additional flexibility or orienting. And in fact we discussed there are maximum 3 degrees of freedom. Probably here you can see this is 1 degree of freedom which gives the pitch up and down. There is a rotary joint here, and there is one more rotary joint here which gives you the roll, right? So there are 2 degrees of freedom here, and of course in this particular gripper there is no yaw. So as I told you, it's not necessary for a gripper to have all the 3 degrees of freedom. That depends upon the purpose for which you are using it. So this is another example. There are 2 fingers here. It just holds the object using 2 fingers. Of course 2 fingers are there. Of course it's one gripper actually. So next is a double gripper. So why do we need a double gripper? So there are 2 gripping devices, and they can actuate independently. Of course it depends upon the design whether they act simultaneously or whether they can act independently. That depends upon your requirement, and it can be used for simultaneous loading and unloading. So in the earlier case what I told about a single gripper, there is one hand, I pick the raw material, take it all the way to the machine, load it, right, and then the next cycle I go there and then unload that and then go and keep it over there. So instead can I combine this both loading and unloading, thereby I can bring down my cycle time. So that is where your double gripper is very helpful to you. So you can see the diagram here, and there are 2 grippers. So probably when you're talking about loading and unloading, so one gripper will have a raw material, the other one can have a finished material, right? So here I'll play the video. So here you can see the robo. So it has got 2 grippers. One gripper it is taking a raw material, it is going towards the machine, and then once it reaches the machine door opens, and takes out the finished component, and then for waiting for a couple of minutes, and when the door again opens, you can see that it inserts or loads raw material and again goes back for the next cycle. So this way you can see that a lot of time is being saved. Otherwise the robot has to every time go pick the raw material, come load it, then unload the finished component, go back. The cycle time increases, and by having a double gripper the cycle time is brought down drastically. So next is about 3 finger gripper. So earlier we saw grippers which had only 2 fingers, but then in most of the cases the 2 fingers will be sufficient enough to hold an object. In some cases where you have odd shaped objects, 2 finger may not be able to effectively grip it or grasp it, so it's better to have 3 fingers so that you can do gripping of odd shapes objects also. So this is one typical 3 finger hand. So maybe in the next diagram you can see how this is able to hold it effectively. So especially in this case it's a ball, and if you're trying to hold a ball with 2 fingers it might slip. Instead I have 3 fingers so that I grasp it effectively. So next is multiple gripper. As I told you, depending upon my requirement, 2 or 3 fingers may not be sufficient. I may need more number of fingers. So let's see what's the purpose of that. 2 or more grasping devices, and may or may not actuate independently. So this is applicable for double gripper or multiple grippers. When there are multiple, depending upon your design, all the grippers may function simultaneously or independently. So holding large flat objects like glass. So how do you lift an object which is relatively larger. If it's a small one, you handle it with one hand. If it's larger, handle it with two. And still larger one and heavier ones, maybe two people are needed, means there are four hands are needed, or three people means six hands. So that is where your multiple gripper comes into picture. So here this is a small animation. You can see there are 5 components, so which comes in input conveyor, and the robot picks up all the 5 simultaneously and puts it onto another conveyor which goes for packaging. So here the right hand side you can see another gripper. If you look closely, you can find out it's packing of tool inserts. So you are able to see 1, 2, 3, 4 grippers here. All the 4 are holding the tool insert. So they can simultaneously work here or independently also work here. Probably this view gives you like one this is little longer, means it's in a stretched position. So this is what I said, there are multiple grippers. They may act independently or simultaneously. So here I will play a small video wherein you can see a robotic gripper which has got actually 3 gripping devices. Actually in 2 circumstances you will need a multiple gripper. One is the object is relatively bigger in size but heavy, so wherein one single gripper will not be sufficient to hold that object or so much weight. The other situation is because the weight is not that much, but the area of the object is very large. Say for example a large metal sheet or large glass sheet. So it's typical of your on a day-to-day life where the object is small, you start with one hand. If it is slightly bigger, 2 hands, and it's even bigger, there are 4 people means 4 hands, and even bigger 3 people means 6 hands. So it goes on like that depending upon the size and weight of the object. The same applies to here also. So in this video you can see how actually the object is being carried by the gripper. Here in fact here you have 3 grippers. Right, so you saw multiple gripper. Of course in this case the object is bigger and also heavier. So the other example what I told was large flat sheets where you can't hold it with one single gripper or 2 grippers, you need multiple grippers. So another way of classifying grippers is how do you hold an object? Do you hold it from the outer surface or hold it from the inner surface? So let's see what it's there. So the internal gripper means it grasps the object on its internal surface, right? So why should the gripper not grasp from the internal surface? So let's assume the outer surface of the component is finished. Say for example, a mirror finished component, and there is no way you can handle it from the outside. How much ever a soft material you use as a pad in the gripper, it might damage the surface. The surface finish may get affected, thereby the dimensional accuracy also can get affected. So the safer way is to hold the object from inside. Let's see how to do that. So here you can see so the fingers are clamping from inside because the outer surface of the object is finished, and as I told you, finished to a high dimensional accuracy and a mirror finish, so it handles from inside. So this is another way of another component. So the finger design is slightly different where it holds from inside, so that's called the internal gripper. So next is the other way around, an external gripper where the internal surface is finished and you hold it from the outside. Of course in most of in industrial components, except for few components, most of the components are held from the outer surface, so they come under external gripper category. So as I said, grasp the object on its exterior surface. So this is what is a contrast to what we saw earlier. So the fingers are grasping the object from the outer surface. So this is called the external gripper. The same thing here, it's in a different orientation. The component is different. And now the way it's being held, because both the cases it's external grippers and the design is different. So this is called external gripper. So now we were talking about grippers and different types, single, double, multiple, all those things. So the next important thing is, how do we classify them? Is it one way or one mechanism by which you make the fingers close and open, or there are different ways of giving movement or grasping the object? So one such category is mechanical grippers. So mechanical grippers are fingers that are actuated by some mechanism. Of course, even if you take our finger, so there is a joint here, and by this mechanism, by this movement, we try to grasp objects. So these fingers are also called jaws because they grasp or hold it firmly. So that's why they are also called as jaws, and they are attached or integral part of the mechanism. So for example, if you take this portion as a hand, and these are all fingers, right? In case of a human hand, these are all integral part, whereas in case of a robot, so what you have to do is, fingers are the part which come into contact with the workpiece. So most of the wear and tear happens only in the fingers, right? So over a period of time, when this is worn out, so I'm supposed to replace this. So then if the finger is attached to my hand, what I can do is I can remove this finger and then attach another finger. Instead, if the finger is an integral part of your hand, then something goes wrong for your finger, the entire hand has to be replaced, so which is going to cost you. So when you are designing a gripper or buying a gripper, you have to ensure that the gripper has got detachable fingers, right? So that way you can, on the long run, you can save on the maintenance cost. So here you can see a mechanism. So there are gears here. So when these gears are actuated, then these fingers will close and open. So how do we actuate these gears? Here you can see this is your motor, and when the motor rotates, the gears they function, and then thereby the fingers open or close. So here you can see the animation for the mechanism here. So next is about types of gear mechanism, right? So what sort of mechanism do I use to make my fingers open and close? So obviously there could be so many mechanisms. So let's see few of that. So it's based on the type of finger movement. How do I make my fingers move? So under this, one simple thing is a pivoting mechanism or pivoting movement. So this is a simple pivot. You can see here it's pivoted here, and when a force is applied, here you can see there is a gripping force is applied on the object. So the simplest example which we use day-to-day life will be a scissors, where at the center you have this pivot, and when you move this end, the scissors they open and close. So that is the simplest pivoting mechanism. So here there's a small animation you can see there. Of course, how do I apply the force for the fingers to move? So in this animation you can see there is a piston which gives the pivot movement. So the piston goes in and out, and thereby it makes the fingers either open or close. So next is so one is the pivoted motion, where it's like a V shape. The fingers or the gripper goes like this, goes and closes like this. So let's see what's here. It's a linear or translational movement. See, because you have an object, especially a cylindrical object, you try to hold it like this. So the gripping force is given in this direction. So the force may not be sufficient enough to hold it, especially when you have a fast cycle. Instead, if you can hold the cylindrical part from the sides, so the force is perpendicular here, so then the gripping force is more. So that is one. And another thing is, what if you have objects which have a square cross section, right? Using a pivoting mechanism, it's difficult to grasp them. Instead, if you have linear or translational movement, it can come like this and then hold it. So here you have your standard rack and pinions set up here, and there is a force given here. So the piston either goes inside or outside, and that rotates the gear, and this gear is in contact. So of course that rotates the gear, and this is in contact with the rack here. So thereby this movement is given. So types of gripper mechanisms based on that. So earlier we saw it's based on the mechanism. Now it's based on the type of kinematic device that it uses. Let's see what's there here. So there are different kinematic mechanisms. One is linkage actuation, gear and rack actuation, cam actuation, you have screw actuation, and of course there's so many things, that depends upon your requirement. It's only your imagination is the limit. So there are so many such kinematic devices. So first we'll see about the linkage actuation. So you can see this animation. Of course this is typical of what we saw earlier. So the fingers come like this, and the piston does the forward and reverse motion, thereby the link comes like this. Again, as I told you, just like in case of pivoting, it closes in an angular fashion. So in the next one you can see in this animation, this is like where you have translational movement. Instead of movement like this, there is a movement like this, so which gives a better gripping force, especially when you have objects which have a square cross section. So this is a lot of linkages here. So through these links the motion is obtained. Because gear and rack already we saw earlier, so where it gives a parallel movement or translational movement. So next is about cam actuation. Because cam, of course the moment you say cam, you remember IC engines where to open the valve, inlet valve and outlet valve, we have cams. So that mechanism, can we use it here? So let's see here. So now in this diagram you can see, so there is a cam, and there is a cam here, and there's a force applied. So when this moves forward, so normally what happens, because of the spring force, this is kept open. So when the cam is pushed to the right or forward, so against the spring force, this moves like this, and the gripping force is given. So when you retract the cam, automatically because of the spring force, it opens, right? So now probably we'll consider this as the design as where it is normally open gripper, right? So in case of normally open gripper, what happens, you grasp it, and by some error or mistake, the actuating force goes down, right? So there is a possibility that it might open and the part may fall down. So the other way of doing it is, you can put the spring in this direction where it is normally closed, and when you insert the cam, it opens, and then you grasp the object, right? So now the grasping is taking place by the spring force and not because of the cam force. So what happens, even when there is a failure at the other end, still the part will be safe because it is held by the spring force. So that's cam actuated grippers. So I'll play a small animation here. As I told you, on the left hand side you see the cam here. How do I actuate the cam? I need to give a movement like this. So that could be established through a piston and cylinder assembly. Again, when I say piston and cylinder assembly, mounting, all those issues are there. So there is another method, probably in this animation you can say, instead of pushing and pulling, there is a screw type. The moment I say screw type, you can put a motor over there. It's very simple. All that you need to give is a clockwise or anti-clockwise rotation for the motor, and thereby you give the grasping there. So here you can see the forward and reverse movement of that. So next is about screw actuation, of course typical of what we saw earlier. So it's again, wherever it's a screw type, it's easy because you can just put a motor over there. So the diagram is self-explanatory. So as the screw is being as this screw is being rotated, so these two jaws moves like this, and the gripping force is given. So now I'll play a small animation here. You can clearly see here how this screw actuation gives you the opening and closing of that. Right, so it looks very simple. Also, I can put a small motor over there for opening and closing of that. And of course, the motor should have sufficient, it must be able to apply sufficient force there, the gripping force, so that the part doesn't fail. So we have come to the end of lecture 6. There we'll have a review of what we discussed in this lecture. We discussed about different categories of end effectors, and there are a lot of types of grippers, and we discussed about the classification of grippers. And of course, mechanical grippers are one type of grippers, and these mechanical grippers, what sort of mechanism to use for the gripper to get actuated. So these are the things we discussed in this lecture. So this is the end of lecture 6. Thanks for watching it. I hope it's useful and interesting to you. So I'll see you in my next lecture. Thank you.